technology the solution to having a credible election and also developing or encouraging or strengthening the trust that the people will have in the system?
You know, that's why election is a very serious public engagement. Now, if you are caught in election rigging, there should be very severe punishment for that. You recently recall that a professor in the university was, his conviction was affirmed by the Court of Appeal in Calabar recently. Now, people see that as they commit all sorts of electoral offenses, and they are not prosecuted. Because of that lack of prosecution, people tend to do whatever they want to do and go and get away with it, and they'll tell you that you should go to court. Now, if we want to get the electoral system right, we must punish offenders, whether you are a candidate or you are a voter and you are involved in election rigging or election manipulation. The offenses are clearly stated in the Electoral Act. So this bill is just trying to amend a section of the Electoral Act to include that compulsory voting will also take place. But we should deal with the situation we find ourselves now, that elections should be credible. If you are found to involve in voters manipulation or voting manipulation, as the case may be, you should be punished.
So how come we haven't had, I mean, if you know, I mean, because I don't really know, from the 2023 elections, if the Electoral Act states that those who were involved in malpractice or rigging of the election should be punished, how come we haven't seen persons undergoing this punishment for...
We have very few prosecution. The landmark case so far is that a returning officer who is a professor in Nigerian University, his conviction by the Akwa Ibom State High Court was affirmed by the Court of Appeal Calabar Division recently. You know, so that seems to be a landmark. So Nigerians expect that we should have more of those conviction or prosecution. Now, you also recall that there have been this agitation for election tribunal, election offenses tribunal. That goes to show that apart from the election tribunal that look at the civil aspect, the criminal aspect should also have a time frame where people that participate or are alleged to participate in election manipulation are treated as such, are prosecuted. Now, Nigeria will have that belief. The reason be that if you do that, there will be some credibility that knowing that our vote, we can't. Of course, the use of technology, you cannot overemphasize that. Like I said, the Nigerian Bar Association election is by technology. I just stay in the house and they will send me a code and send me the list of candidates. I will just vote and send it back to them. So, who says it's not possible? If all of us are now having BVN, NIN, these are very, very possible to vote. And then the issue of voters manipulation or duplication will not arise. We must have to look at these areas first.
But then Leonard, how do we explain the issue of, you know, the 2023 elections with, because I remember very well, a lot of people were very excited. I'm sure that you yourself was also excited with the Electoral Act. Some people said that the best thing that the President Muhammadu Buhari's government or administration had done was, you know, the transmission or ensuring that, you know, the Electoral Act became what it was. I mean, it was a bill, then it became an act. So, and then it was more like it's the best thing that has happened to Nigeria and our electoral system. And then fast forward to the elections. We had issues of not transmitting results electronically as when you juxtapose it with what it was stated in the Electoral Act. So where do we go from here? How do we explain all of this? Because the whole talk about having technology, at the end of the day, technology is not going to be operated by itself. People are going to operate or man this technology. So where do we go from here with our elections and credibility?
You know, unfortunately, the operators of this of the Electoral Act, which is INEC and the and other workers they employ, the ad hoc staff, to an extent may not have lived up to expectation. Now, the Electoral Act was such a welcome development. We thought that, okay, the issue of disparity of election in the polling unit will be, with that of the collation center will be different, principally the issue of transmission of results. But the judgment of court too, with the greatest respect, there were a lot of reservations that the court were not firm enough to say, look, if this thing were not electronically transmitted, of course there were issues. So people believe that the court didn't affirm that transmission of results, the electronic transmission of results. Now, that's why these amendments are now being muted, that we should make it more concrete and make it more compulsory that without transmission of results, we are going to have issues. But then we talk about technical glitch. Imagine the embarrassment caused by a jam technical glitch, where a lot of results were questioned and then they have to resit and all that. So when you have those kind of language, technical glitch, what is technical glitch? What is technical glitch? Technical glitch that can be rectified, or that will rely on technical glitch not to do what the law asks us to do. So these are issues that are on the front burner. But all in all, I still hold that laws without the implementation of the sanctioning aspect are just but mere musical instruments. We have had several aberrations, both from some INEC staff, some ad hoc staff, even the candidates or voters, without punishment. So until we have that political will to punish offenders, people will not take this very seriously. So if you go ahead to make voting compulsory, that means you're going to lock up almost every Nigerian, because Nigerians will tell you that what's the essence? They are not seeing that their vote. What's the essence of voting when they are not even seeing visible governance? So that is the reason for this voters' apathy. And we need to tackle that first before we talk about compulsory voting. The issue of voters' education, the issue of good governance, the issue of tackling the so-called technical glitch and all that. These are the basic issues, so that you restore the confidence back. INEC has to restore that confidence. And of course, the National Orientation Agency has a whole lot of work to do. These are very critical and very important for us to do before we talk about compulsory voting.
Remember, you can join the conversation by sending an SMS or WhatsApp to the number 08180384663, 08180384663, or the phone lines are also open, 07025007749 or 0701424 and 20. We'll take a short break, and when we return, the conversation continues right here, and Sir Leonard is still with us. Please stay tuned.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light for my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
And you're still watching your favorite primetime show right here. I am Messi Bopo. So good to have you staying tuned and tuning in at this point in time. The conversation we're having is about the proposed bill by the House of Representatives saying, hey, 6-year jail term for those who are eligible to vote and did not cast their vote in an election. And we're looking at 2027, which is actually an election year, and or a fine of 100,000 naira. I think that comes together. However, this has generated a lot of conversation. We'll have the likes of Femi Falana saying this is a draconian law, it's unconstitutional. The Nigerian Bar Association of Nigeria, SERAP, has also put her voice, and there's been a lot of talk about it. We have a constitutional lawyer who's right here with us, member of the Chatham House, Leonard Tanyago. Once again, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. But like you have stated over and over again from the beginning of this conversation, you talked about voter education. I'd like to ask you, how can the government improve voter education and awareness to encourage participation? Now, not necessarily the government, because again, you have the political parties who are also involved in campaigning. So all hands on deck. How can we improve voter education and awareness to encourage participation rather than sending everyone to prison?
I want to propose very quickly as a national discourse that the National Orientation Agency, not everything should not be left for INEC alone or the political parties. Now, maybe we can introduce a civic education that is compulsory at the senior secondary school level. Because at the senior secondary school level, you are the child of the age about 14, 15, 16, 17. So that they know their civic right. There needs to be something called civic education. I don't know whether that we can make that compulsory in our schools, even up to the university, so that people know their rights, when to vote, and how to stand and ensure that their vote is counted. I think that is it will be a landmark that in our universities, in our higher institution, whether university, college education, or whatever higher institution, and in our secondary school, especially the SS2, SS3, we have this civic education that is compulsory for everybody to know that you know your rights, you know when to vote, you know the offenses related to election matters and all that. That is the starting point, not to put people in prison for 6 months or 100,000 naira. So that is the robust voter education. And of course, our religious gatherings, the churches, the mosque, even the traditional institutions. That is the starting point that, look, everybody has to vote, everybody has to participate. We're talking about public accountability because the money that that's on the table is for the public. the public that have donated their trust to an individual or group of individuals to administer for a certain period of time. So everybody has to be interested in that. So rather than going to sending people to prison, let us have that compulsory civic education at our higher institutions and at the secondary school, maybe the SS2, SS3 level. That will pass. The motor parks, the market women. So they are those at the level. That's why I say the National Orientation Agency has a whole lot of work to do, not just left for the INEC and the political parties alone. Because if you leave it for the political parties, they can set on to, if I'm running the election, I know that the other people are not going to vote for me, I'll do voters education suppression. I won't tell you anything. So that on the day of election, you don't come out to vote or you don't know how to vote. So that's why I say the duty should not be left for INEC alone. We have several agencies, national orientation agencies, of course, the National Youth Service Corps. These are all schemes that can be involved in a robust voters education. And then we must have to deliver, not just voting. We must have to hold our elected officials, our government accountable. Governance should be seen to be done. People should feel governance. This is the reason why I voted. And then there will be that transparency. We should know how much we are getting and how much we are spending. There is a hashtag, follow your money. If a budget is presented and approved, a contract is approved, we should know the contractor, we should know the length of that contract and the money. These are transparency that people will want to see. And this issue about, there's nobody who is a professional politician. I keep saying that. If you see politics as just a profession, then you are not ready for service. But Nigerians will argue that people that have been there for years, from 1999 to that, they just keep, turning themselves into political recycling. So we must open the political space. And of course, this idea of nomination fund by political parties. These are maybe that is what we should even regulate. Why would you ask somebody to pay 10, 20 million, a young person, to get a political nomination? These are the issues that we should put in our electoral instrument, that political party cannot charge even more than the minimum wage to allow people to participate in a nomination of primaries of political parties, because we do not have how do you call it, independent candidacy. That's to pass through the political parties. These are the key issues, not at the moment talking about putting people in prison for 6 months or 100,000. That would be very offensive to Nigerians.
I mean, what you have just stated now, you talked about regulating, having that in the Electoral Act, but again, it might just literally mean this having, because who again is going to put out this law? So biting your nose to spite your face, that might really just be the case. But quickly moving away from that, I'm being told that we have less than 10 minutes right here going, is that the very popular conversation that you have, even after the 2023 election, is that people will always say that their votes don't count. Their votes don't count. And the conversation has gotten worse after the general elections of 2023. So those who even had confidence, because it looks as though the Electoral Act of 2023 restored so much confidence, and we had that turnout of voters, although, I mean, registration of voters, although it did not reflect in the turnout of voters, which can also be attributed to several factors. There were issues with, you know, getting the cards, people in different locations who have moved across different timelines. However, I'm being told that we have a caller. Let's quickly take this one. Hello.
Good evening, my dear sister.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
This is Lawman from Abia State.
Okay, Lawman, go ahead quickly.
See, Red members have insulted the sensibility of Nigerians. They have insulted the sensibility of Nigerians. How many are they? The whole politicians in Nigeria, they are not up to 20,000. And they are now dealing with us as if they are higher in number. Look at what they are saying. Proposing 6 months jail term. They have not even jailed themselves for not doing the right thing, for not bringing good bills that will bring down the price of goods and services. And they are telling us non-voters should be jailed. I'm telling you, we in Abia State, we will mobilize and make sure we send them out of that place, because we are higher in number. We are in millions, and more than less than 20,000 are dealing with us as if they are higher in number than us. All these things is because we have not looked deep, and this time around we are going to deal with them. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Loma. Quickly, Leonard, let's talk about public participation input in this particular bill, because I mean, who can tell? It could scale through the third reading, and if it gets through that process, then we're done for. So how can the public be part of this or impute to this particular bill? And again, the issue of people saying they have lost trust in the government is totally bad. So you keep hearing people saying, my vote don't count, there's no need, they don't care about me, I can't bother, it's worse, it's getting bad every day. How do we address these two issues I've raised?
Well, I think that when it gets to the public hearing, Nigerians who express themselves, like the last caller has stated. You know, like I said, any responsive government will take its policies from the people. It looks from the reaction of Nigerians, both the professional bodies and ordinary citizens and individuals, that Nigerians are not comfortable with such a proposal. Rather, like I keep saying, is to have those robust voters' education and a visible governance that people will feel it, you know. So that is very key. But the other issue is the fact that this is also a wake-up call for Nigerians to participate in the process. We need to participate. Like the last person said, the politicians are just less than 20,000. There's nobody that is actually born with a tag, a politician. But maybe because the political cycle or the political mainstream is so circumscribed that Nigerians hardly find it to get in, because without being a god, if you don't have a government, it's difficult for you to attain political height, and that's a challenge. These are the areas that we should fight. Fight it in the sense that we have to participate and, and leverage on the fact that the system is now open for people to participate. It's very, very key.
All right. Thank you so much, Leonard Onyango. We have to go at this point in time. I really do appreciate you joining this show. We look forward to having more of this conversation. And once again, do have a great evening. However, thank you so much, our audience, everyone who's actually listened in, tuned in. Thank you, Lawman, for calling, and thank you for tuning in. We'll definitely return tomorrow with more exciting lineup in case you just tuned in and you missed the conversation. But before I go, I'd like that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Official Upgrade TV, and you can also interact with us further. Drop a comment. And most importantly, follow us on all of our social media platforms and engage. Now, remember to like, share, comment, and invite your friends and family to watch and follow. If you miss our quote, here is what it is. A person who has attained the age of 18 who refuses to perform his civic duty to vote commits an offense. I ask Leonard that question, is it a crime not to vote? We'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening. My name is Messi Ebopo.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, lives a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.